Hey, everybody, I'm Joe.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Derrick.
And we are the hosts of Beats, Balls, and Bourbon, the official video podcast of the Groove Machine, your drumline, you Louisville City people. And this is our second show. Thank you for coming back. We hope that you really enjoyed the first one. We thank our guests who were here. It was an enjoyable time. And I'm going to ask you guys how you're doing this week. Derrick, how are you?
I'm doing good. I don't have a step counter, but I'm pretty sure I've walked the equivalent of about 10 miles in the last week. My legs feel like jelly, and I should be on the moon.
On the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's nice up there.
It should be.
It should be. There's no atmosphere, but there's plenty of atmosphere in here.
There is.
God. Matthew,
We
how are
haven't
you,
figured out
sir?
where that's coming from yet, but we're working on it.
Matt, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Matthew is pretty good. He's a man of 1,000 words, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, this show is going to be great. We have Evan Floyd, who's going to be here. He is a member of, him and his buddy Andy run the In the House podcast, also a member of Scouts' House, and also works as an employee for the team. So we can't wait to hear about that. We also have Katie Harper here, one of our capos, who's doing a tremendous job. And I can't wait to hear about what led her to become one of our leaders, if you will. We love our capos, don't we?
We do.
Thanks for all of that there, Matt.
They have megaphones. They yell. They tell us what to yell.
Yes, it's very nice. And we have
some of them don't whistle into the megaphone directly in my face.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and we do have two calling guests. Later on, we're going to have Sean Reynolds. I'm sure you all are really excited to hear from him. He will be calling in later on. And also, probably the greatest player in Louisville City history.
Distinguished himself in the LIPAFC, of course.
Yes, and it is LIPAFC week. So Bugsy O'Malley will be calling in pretty soon. But before we do that, we have to talk about last week and our game. Anyway,
for sure. I mean, it was okay, I guess. We got a point. And like we said in this podcast, we don't do a lot of technical analysis, folks. Did we make a point?
We made a point. We're going to make a couple more points, I think. I think we're going to make some more points. So we do our recaps in poems. So Uncle Luigi's back.
Whoa, you mean you don't have an uncle from North Carolina?
No, I don't have any uncles from North Carolina. I'm afraid well.
It would just be a guy that would come
If
on and go, hey, guys.
Yeah, right. Hey,
See,
Joe.
Uncle Wilbur.
Hey, remember me? No, I don't.
That's
I don't even want to think about it.
That's more Nashville, right?
But
that's the Nash.
Yes. So anyway, it's time to give you our game recap. Got a little music going on in the background. Little Uncle Luigi. Uncle Luigi's now ready to talk to you about last week's game. Okay, everybody ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm a little afraid of this one because I think we're going to be pushing the envelope a little bit, but that's what we're here for.
Oh, man.
Matthew, you ready?
I got my feet set.
Okay. And the title of this here recap is We Got a Point. Oh, that's about it. That's the title. Anyways, here we go. It was muggy and cloudy the 22nd of June. We weren't too worried it would be nice. We feared not the weather, and like them jamokes who don't pay me back, we had everything we needed on ice.
I see what you did.
Yes, thank you very much. Plenty of that going to come up. Don't worry about it. But we was a bit worried for our dear boys in Pikeville. A few hours before the big game at Slugger, our Louisville team, they've been leaking some points, like a cow when you pull on its udder. Our opponent that evening was that team there from Charlotte, which is in North Carolina, or so I hear.
Woo!
It's not a real city.
But it seems them people only care about that MLS crap, so none of them really show up to freaking cheer. Hey, did you know there once was a spider whose name was Charlotte, who was also made famous in a book, along with her friend, some pig who called himself Wilbur. Oh, I wonder what weird turns that relationship took. I mean, come on, it's an arachnid and a mammal. What kind of tryst did these two characters share? I mean, seriously, in the book, Charlotte had like 1 million babies. Oh, what the hell is going on there? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Oink, oink.
Piters.
Bacon silk.
Time to make the bacon. Anyways, I digress. We shouldn't talk about that. We're really here to talk about the game. Besides, think about piggies and spiders doing bouncy on the web. Hey, kind of brings me a little bit of shame. I ain't lying there. Once the first half started, our guys were on the front foot. They made foray after foray into the defense. But then Charlotte's day was tough. They was like thick in the box. One could say that their defensive shape was independence.
Ooh.
To clarify, he said thick in the box.
Thick, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And I used a pun. It's the cheapest form of humor. Independence. Anyway, and try as we may, no matter how hard, we just couldn't get the ball into the net. And I was really thinking, not again. They'll probably score first. At least that's what I bet. And lo and behold, my foreshadowing was real. Day was open on the right, and they broke true. And after all that good work, we was down by a freaking Oleo.
Yeah.
What the hell you gonna do? Now, them Charlottes, I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan. They're sneaky, and sometimes they cheat. They flop like them flounders, and they dive like them dolphins, and they trip over nobody's feet.
Hey,
A good
that's
swimmer.
accurate.
They also got that Mamaluke, Enzo Martinez. He spends most of the time rolling around on the floor. And every time I see him, I want to look at him and say, your mother is a man.
Whoa. We talked about this. You cannot say that on the podcast.
I'm not allowed to say that.
No, you're not allowed to say that.
I
We
can't
went
say
over this last week.
I don't want to be in Facebook jail.
Okay, no Facebook jail for us. You know what, Enzo, I'm just kidding. A couple of Hail Marys, a couple of fathers, we're good to go. Here we go. So the first half was true. He was down by a goal, but at least there was still hope in sight. They don't just play one half. They play two. And 2 and 2 halves, they make a whole. Or I think that's, if I had my schooling right. Oh, now check it out. Down in Charlotte, they also got that NASCAR. We're just keeping the cars on the track as a feat. But my cousin Loretta, she don't really care about that too much because those cars, they don't have a back seat.
Oh.
Now, hey, look, I'm not saying Loretta's a bad girl. That's something that should never be said. But she's the only girl I knew who would guys scream, hey, look, it's Loretta. And all they can see is the back of her head.
Oh.
But once again, it's time to move on. This isn't what we're here to talk about. Besides Loretta, she may hear this, get mad. And as you may have heard, Oye Maron, can that girl shout? But anyways, we're moving on. So the second half's going and the weirdest thing happened. We was drumming and singing down there. And then all of a sudden, it's a smiling sandwich with legs. What the hell am I in, a freaking nightmare? It scared me half to death, this walking Italian sub. It had a smile like it was totally whack. At the fun ended when it took that scratchy thing from Jorge, and I told it, you're getting 2 in a melon if you don't give it back. But it just kept dancing until it decided to leave with that crazy smile like Jack who stuck his face through the door. I wanted to say to that thing, hey, look, thanks a lot, you crazy bastard. I ain't eating freaking sandwiches anymore. But just like one of them, just like one of them Jedis who are busy saving the world, they use that power that's deep within their soul. Old Big Luke was a hero, and Luke used the Force, and Luke managed to force us a goal. It was now 1-1. The game was locked up, something that old Luigi knows about too well. Hey, it's much easier to sell a good story than to be a good story in a cell. That's not bad, right? That's okay. Thank you. That's pretty good. But the last try as we made, we couldn't get our attack right, and the game was done, finished 1-1. And that's how we finished that night. Once again, no 3 points. We stuck with a tie. Kind of felt like a loss. This is no good. And if we don't win soon, I'm going to lose my mind, and I'll cry and embarrass myself in front of the whole neighborhood. And that's how it ended. We're still wanting to win. Let's hope that our championship's desires ain't fake. But there's one thing I can say from the bottom of my heart. Katie and I want to say thank you for the birthday cake. There you go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was wonderful.
Thank you. It was, I don't know. I don't think Loretta's going to like this one too much.
What gave you that idea, Joe?
She shouldn't have, she did what she had to do. But, we got a point. Yay.
Yeah, we got a point.
You guys want to add anything to our wonderful point?
Am I booking about the 12th minute there?
I got a book. I got a yellow card.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, apparently our 12th man now is Subman. I don't know what was going on there.
I don't know if that was like product placement or just a fan.
That was the scare. I swear to God, I was scared. I see this freaking sandwich walking down the road. I'm like, what is going on here?
Because I realized with our fan base, you don't know.
Right, and it's a mascot, so not on. But anyway, that's the way it goes. We'll talk a little bit more about our game in this Saturday in a little bit. But it's time, I think, for our very first guest. Yes?
Sure. Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I met this guy last year. He runs a wonderful podcast along with his partner, Andy. It's called In the Scouse. Or Scout in the house. It's Scouse's house in the house, right?
It's in the house.
Did I nail that, Evan?
Nailed it.
I nailed it. He's looking at me like, yeah, sure thing. You might not recognize him because he doesn't have a mustache anymore.
Well, I'm not being.
We had no idea.
This is Evan's stunt double.
Yeah, this is Evan's stunt double. I don't know if this is Evan Floyd, but it could be Evan Floyd.
They sent their stunt doubles.
Oh,
I've
ladies
always
and
looked
gentlemen,
for a
Evan
stunt
Floyd. Let's say hello to Evan.
What's up, Evan?
Well, hi.
How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you guys doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I brought goodies because I'm a shameless briber.
Nice.
I knew that I was going to want to be on the good side of the groove machine for as long as possible. So from the Loucity front office, sponsors.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest for the next 12 shows, Evan Floyd.
And then, as an extra special treat, because I know that won't last particularly long.
Probably not.
Not in this crowd, anyway. As an extra special side treat, as a set decoration.
Yeah.
Or not. You're up to you guys. I have brought
a
16.
Ooh.
I brought 16 specifically because it's the only one we had that had Sean Reynolds on it.
Excellent.
So, fully signed 2016 team.
That is
nice.
Fantastic. Evan, thank you so
That's going to be
much.
framed.
Yes.
I will have that framed.
I knew in honor of Sean being your other guest tonight, we wanted to have one that had his signature on it. So cheers.
Thanks, Evan.
Evan, that is
very
really,
welcome.
that is really wonderful. You may want to stand a little bit closer there.
See, you guys have way more fancy technology than we do one in the house.
Well, we have really nothing better to do with our lives.
I'm pretty sure my wife feels very much the same way about me at this point.
That's okay.
When I told her that I was going to be devoting another night of my week to Louisville City soccer, she was really interested in that process.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing some kind of a podcast gauntlet right now, right?
Yeah, I'm frankly in the public eye way more than I have any reason to be, more than anybody I'm sure wants me to be. No, I've had some press lately. I was on USL.com in an article they wrote about me.
Nice.
And then have my podcast each week with Andy, and we enjoy that. And I'm a occasional contributor to Barrel Proof and a frequent contributor on Soccer City Radio. And so, yeah, people get way more of my opinion than I have any reason to be offering. But here I am. I appreciate you guys having me on.
If they keep asking you, it's for one or two reasons: you're good, or they're trying to suck up for more free stuff.
I think that it's because of the bribery. So as long as I keep bringing fun stuff to everything that I show up to, I think they'll probably keep having me back.
Well, I want to ask you a question first. I met you, I guess it's about a year and a half ago or so, roughly.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But before that, I'd like to know a little bit about Evan and what he did before he came here and started going to Louisville games. What got you involved in soccer, things like that.
Sure. No, I'm from pretty much everywhere you can be from in the Midwest. We moved around a lot as a kid, but I did my primary schooling in Westchester, Ohio. I'll call it Westchester so nobody confuses it with Cincinnati, but it's a suburb of Cincinnati, so I'm kind of from that enemy to the north. But then I went to college down at Western Kentucky University, and when I went to Western, I met Andy on my first day there.
Okay.
And Andy Frederick, my partner.
Andy Frederick, right. I would just say Andy because Andy to me is like Cher. He only needs one.
He only does.
It's like Cher or Madonna.
The 6'5" tattooed guy.
Exactly. He's tall. He's amazingly tall.
I met him on our first day there, and he was a Louisville native. And so from that minute on, we were good friends, and I came to Louisville a lot. And on one of those many trips, I met a lovely young woman who eventually, after a great deal of chasing and persuading, agreed to be my wife. And so while I had been working in a lot of different fields, I had mostly been working for a home delivery pharmacy company in process management and efficiency optimization.
Damn.
Yeah, it was really exciting. It's exactly as sexy as it sounds. And so
it doesn't sound that friggin' sexy.
But I left that work to come and work to find a job in Louisville.
Okay.
And I sort of bounced around from company to company trying to find a good fit, find something that I liked. I was frequently like the youngest or lowest ranking person in management staffs at every company I went to. So I got laid off a couple of times in restructuring, or because I was really terrible at my jobs. Sometimes it's hard to say. And then finally, during this whole process, my wife knew I was an enormous sports fan and that I really consider Louisville like my adopted home. I've lived a lot of places, and this is the first place that I think of as mine. Okay. Like other places I lived was because my dad moved me there, because, I'm in college, okay, great. But this is the first place that when I moved here, it was like, this is home, this is what I love. And she knew I was a huge sports fan, but I didn't have any teams here because I was already devoted to the teams that I support. And so when we first got wind that Louisville City was coming, she said, I'm getting us season tickets. And she did that, and I think she regrets it every day. No, she got us season tickets, and we started going to the games. We had no idea if any of our friends were going to be into it, if anybody was going to, we showed up like a lot of people did, thinking there might be 800 people here, and, who knows. But it turned into just like the highlight of our social calendar. Every one of our friends goes to all the games. We hang out together. We tailgate together. We post-game party together. And it just became, an immovable part of our schedule. And so while I'm doing all this, I'm working these, strange and mostly unfulfilling jobs. And after 2.5 years of being a big fan and helping to create Scouts.
Yeah, let me just back up on that a little bit. So I remember when Michael was trying to start that Scouts, Mike Bromwell, and there wasn't a whole lot of people involved like that. Just if you could focus a little bit on Scouts' house and the beginning of it,
absolutely,
and why you think it's turned into something which is really wonderful. I think they've done a great job of it.
Well, like I say, we would show up to these games with our friends. And some of our friends really loved the soccer, and some of them just really loved the environment and wanted to hang out. And that makes it, if you're really looking for hanging out and not the soccer, Cooper's area is not perfect.
Right.
You got to sort of be willing to focus your day on the soccer. And so we needed to find a place in the stadium where it could sort of be half and half. You could be locked in if you were like me and wanted to watch the game. Or you could, find a picnic bench and have a beer and have a conversation and cheer when goals are scored and get into it in big moments. And we found that over in the patio deck that first year. It was just sort of us and like 12 friends. And then over on the other half of the patio deck was Scouse and about 10 of his friends. And we loved it. And we had a great time. We got to know him a little bit and just sort of cheering on the team. And then the second year, the front office started selling the patio deck to corporate functions. So you could, if you wanted to take your company out, you could buy the patio deck and they wouldn't let anybody down there. You had to have specific tickets for it. Right. And we were just staring down there with, needles in our eyes, hatred. Like that is our spot. You are befouling and besmirching it. But what really got Scouse's goat more than anything was on nights when they would sell it and it would be like 5 people down there. Right. And because over the course of that year, we went from being like 20 of us to being like 50 of us, 60 of us for a game, and kind of providing a nice little atmosphere on that side of the field. But we hated it when we looked down there and it was just ghost town. And so he said, you know what? I want to get back down there. And then I give Scouse himself a ton of credit. There's a reason it's Scouse's house. Right. He did the legwork. He talked to the front office and said, how can we get back down there? How can we turn that into a place that is a destination for fans and make it a thing? He found out all the things you needed to do to become an official supporters group. He did all the paperwork. He did all the legwork. Right. He recruited people tirelessly. He sold tickets himself. He did everything he could possibly do to make sure that we got our spot back, and then we did. And over that course of that time period, we had we were creating Scouse's House and making it a thing. We decided we wanted to do the podcast because I love Barrel Proof and I love Final Judgment, and now big fan of the Triple B. But despite all
before you go on, hashtag 3B podcast, hashtag 3B podcast. It'll be on the screen. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Love it. I just don't think there can be too much content. I really don't. I think that if you enjoy making it, I don't care if 3 people listen or watch, then that's enough. And honest to God, for the first 20 shows Andy and I did, that's about what we had listening to us. Right. Was my mom and Scouse's mom, and that was about it. Andy's parent not even involved. So
well,
we couldn't talk our wives into it.
We're just over 3,000 viewers right now. You heard, yes, 3,000,
give or take.
See, that's ridiculous.
Give or take.
But since I'm assuming I'm being mocked here.
No, I think we're mocking ourselves actually.
But I mean, that's the thing is, if you put good content out, eventually people will start paying attention to it. And and Andy and I were doing that podcast for us more than we were doing it for anybody else. We wanted to sit down and talk Lou City soccer. And we thought there might be somebody out there who wants to listen. And now, we generally have 150-ish unique listens in a week, and that's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun.
So we did all that work, and then we started the podcast. I did the podcast for a year, and in that course of that, I got to know some of the front office people and got to know some of the players a little bit better. And I started sort of shifting from just being a fan to being somebody who was thinking, well, I want this to be a part of my life.
Right.
And so I got a tiny amount of access to Brad Estes, and he regrets that to this day. I started hounding him, really.
I give Brad Estes a lot of credit because he gives a lot of teeny tiny contact to a lot of people.
He really does.
He's amazing.
He's
That's
an amazingly accessible.
You know what?
team
Here's to
president.
Brad Estes. I'm going to give Brad a toast here.
Cheers.
Here he is.
Thanks,
Brad.
Phil Patron.
Salute. All right.
I had to find something to drink.
But he did a great job of listening to me when I would have suggestions or concerns or comments. And I said, listen, I'm willing to sort of make a big life change here if you guys can bring me on. And they didn't have a spot for me, and but I just made sure I kept in their ear that eventually, if you do, come get me, I'll come.
Right.
And finally they did. And it's been unbelievable getting to work for the team. It changes the entire fan experience, but it is.
Well, you picked the right time to do it too.
Well, or did I? Because and now if we don't win a championship after 2 in a row, I'm the unique factor. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure on us to win another one.
You hear that? You hear that, players? Evan's job is on the line if you all don't win.
It's all on Evan.
It's,
Hashtag it's all on Evan.
It's extremely nerve-wracking. I am a person who puts a lot of store in really dumb superstitions for how the team results occur.
We know a guy like that.
Yeah. Well, frankly, my facial hair is generally malleable based on how we're playing or not playing. What I'm wearing to the games is, and that's been tough because we technically have team dress codes for the games about what color polo and what color pants and all that jazz for any given game day.
Blazers.
And when we win a couple in a row and they're like, we're going to wear gray. I'm like, nope, still wearing purple. And I show up like, oh man, I forgot. Sorry guys. But so I do. I put a lot of pressure on myself for the team to be doing well, because especially seeing as how I have no impact on how they perform at all. But it's been an unbelievable experience getting to work for the team, getting to see how a sports organization is run.
And
ridiculous.
what exactly are your responsibilities?
Oof. Are
you sorry that I asked that question?
The thing about this is, I think sometimes, I know I was guilty of this in my pure fandom days. I think that we generally think of the club as being this big organization because, it's a professional team and you see all the players, and on game day, you see an army of people in polos. Man, so many of those people are interns. Like the actual full-time staff of Loucity is not very large.
Right.
And so we all have a lot of different hats. And I was hired on to be the fulfillment specialist, which would be so anything that we sell to a sponsor, whether that's social media or PA announcements or video board or email or signage or radio and TV ads, all of that. I was making sure that they get what they bought.
Right.
That's fulfillment. And then they realized pretty quickly that Mario Sanchez, who is, I sing his praises every single time. Mario Sanchez, who is our director of youth development and community relations, was being stretched really thin with how much work he's doing out in the community, doing youth clinics and camps and volunteer clinics and volunteer camps. It's amazing. And plus he has duties actually coaching the first team.
Right.
So he's just stretched really thin. And they said, Evan could probably help out Mario. He knows a lot of the supporters already and understands some of what community relations would require for the club. And so I took on some of those responsibilities. And then we last season, and for all the seasons leading up to it, Brandon Morris had been with the club, and he was our director of operations, and he did a lot. And when Coach Hack came in, he brought some people that he was familiar with to come in and work. And they do unbelievable job. When you're talking about Andrew DeLallo and Danny Cruz and some of the other guys on that staff, it's unbelievable the amount they do. But it's very different from what Brandon did. So there were some loose spots in game day operations because our new operations are a lot more team-centric. And that left a lot of stadium-centric stuff that was maybe that in the old days where they were used to some of our sales guys doing, and we don't want them having to focus on that.
Sure.
And some of it for that Brandon would have used to take care of that no longer was being done. And so I took on some of those game day responsibilities, including ball kid supervision and making sure that the signage is right, making sure that the PA that I write is being done correctly and that the board looks right, stuff like that.
And I've been downstairs when you get ready to sing the national anthem. I have been down there when they have the little kids. That is the hardest job anybody has in the entire building. Because that's insanity.
Yeah, actually corralling.
It's like herding cats.
It takes a skill I don't have. That's another part of the.
I think Mrs. Vowles does that. I think Mrs. Vowles
Davina's
amazing
very
at that.
important in terms of doing that. Dylan Terry goes a long way in terms of doing all of that for game day. No, I take the ball kids after Dylan is done with them, and I'm then in charge of making sure that they're not overwhelmed by the moment or creeped out or easily distracted by a bumblebee or something like that. So,
all right. So now we've got the stadium going up, okay, which you drive by again today, and it's just it's the place is amazing. Okay. What are you envisioning as far as Scouse's house is concerned when you're in the new building?
Statues, smoke, fireworks. Probably some, I don't know, laser shows.
Nice.
Gladiator
fights, maybe?
What I envision is a sold-out house every single night. That's what I envision, and that's our sales staff's working really hard on that now from the top down about making sure that it's going to be not just, oh, hey, cool, it's a new stadium, but that it's a real experience for the fans every time. Because I keep saying to everybody who will listen, it'll be a new stadium for a year, 2 years.
Right.
Into that third year, if it's going to matter what that stadium is, not just that it exists.
Now, Evan, do you know anything about, like, I got into conversations with people about all kinds of stuff as far as the new stadium. So a lot of people are talking about, like, I know that we're talking about it's going to be a soccer stadium, but is it going to be a multi-use stadium? Like, are we going to have other events in there? Like maybe like a high school state championship, for instance?
Sure.
That kind of thing.
We're already exploring a lot of cool options for other games that can be played there. This is where I come up against it for not knowing what's able to go out into public and what's not.
Right.
But I already know that there are a number of games, some high school, some collegiate, some friendlies, even that wouldn't involve Loucity. There are games that we're hoping to be able to play there. I mean, this is a gorgeous state-of-the-art facility that'll be open in like 8 months from today.
That's crazy.
And we'll play 17 to 25 games in it in a year. So that means that's, 340 days a year where it's just sort of sitting there collecting property tax. If we can find something cool to do with it, especially if it's soccer or especially if it's Louisville, the people who run that team are smart business guys. They know not to just let it sit there if we don't have to.
That's right.
And I just keep saying that this is an uncharted part of the country from an international perspective. I mean, you've got a couple teams have already invested in certain areas. A team from Italy I believe they're behind one of the teams, I think Fresno. I forget which ones. But here's a part of the country. You mentioned something that's really cool, that we're talking about friendlies that we might not even be playing in.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you've got to bring in teams that people are going to want to come see. So that's pretty exciting, actually. When you said I didn't even think about – I haven't yet thought about that stadium having a game where we didn't play.
Yeah, they're between the ideas of some college games and some I'm up against it right here. I'll just say there are a lot of ideas that are kicking around the office, and some of them I know they've already gone into a conversation and negotiation.
Let's get Liverpool over here to play Juventus.
Well, I mean, that's also the part you've got to think about. That especially until I think everybody sort of expects that if soccer continues to grow in Louisville the way it is, that within the next 10 to 15 years, we'll have to do both of the expansions. So this stadium was built with 2 expansions in mind. Where we'd be able to expand it out to about 15,000 of seating from 11-7 and then to about 20 to 22 from seating. And we hope that, in the next 10, 15 years, we have to do all of that. But as is, we're going to have 11,700 seats. And when we jam that place full of passionate fans, it'll be about 14,000.
That's so awesome.
And with 14,000 people, you can't bring a Liverpool over. I mean, you just
right.
But there are clubs that you can. And, for the right enticement, then we're hoping that there will be some good quality soccer played there, even when Loucity's not. And that also includes the idea of, Mario Sanchez is helping to create the academy right now. We might have some academy games there, some PDL games. USL League 2.
That's what we just talked about last week.
You might have, I think that the door is wide open for an NWSL team. We saw that Andrew Oost wrote a great article about it just this week. There are a lot of really great opportunities for ways to use that stadium, but other events is also definitely on the table. There's a way to outfit it to be able to do good concerts for an outdoor concert series, stuff like that. But I think that first and foremost, it's a soccer stadium, and we want to use it that way.
And I hate that we got to push along. I'm going to ask you one more question. One more question, and it's my personal thanks to you for, and I mean that sincerely, because look, people don't have to put themselves out there where they're willing to do the amount of things that you're doing, be it as a job or beforehand. And the amount that you're willing to do really helps, because you're adding content, you're adding to the culture. So just as a supporter, really appreciate that you and Andy are doing what you're doing with the podcast, and that you've put yourself in a position where you're now employed by the team, because you have a connection with the supporters, not just Scouts' House, but everybody in general, and the front office. And that is not the easiest place in the world to be sometimes, I'm sure.
No, sometimes it's not. But I'll say I appreciate that. That means a lot. Obviously, I've said before, and I'll continue to always say that Loucity has 3 unimpeachable, untradeable things that has going for it. And to me, that is, and always will be, Brad Estes' purple blazer, the golden pipes of Lance McGarvey, and the Groove Machine itself. And so that you guys are here doing what you're doing, that's fantastic stuff. I know that I'm a lot of places right now. We were joking about it earlier, but I love soccer. I love this team. And so whether people agree with me or disagree with me, get sick of me or whatever it is, I just want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, that what comes through is that I love this city, I love this game, and I love this team, and I want all 3 of them to be successful. So.
Do you have any other?
I do not. I reiterate what he just said, man. It's great to have you here. I've played and loved soccer in this town since I was a little bitty kid, and it's good to have you on our side, and you're truly appreciated. Especially, we go over there for setup, and we're like, "Where's Evan at? Where's that?" We wait for the Evan appearance. Then you show up, we go in and set up, and we're good. It's just it's good having you there. We love your passion. Not once have I ever I reached out to you and you haven't responded to me. It's wild, and I can't imagine how many other people.
Said that. I ignore almost everybody. It's pretty much just you.
And I guess the other thing is I'm really looking forward to in the new stadium with Scouts' House, whoever's watching, getting some stadium-wide stuff going on as far as chanting and stuff like that. We're really looking forward to making that go on.
We had a supporters leadership meeting this week, and I think there's a lot of that stuff that's on its way. A really productive one. So I thank you guys for having me on.
Evan, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Floyd, thank you.
You guys let me know when the bourbon's out, and I will. I'll show back up, and I'll bring you another bottle.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan.
Oh,
don't leave him. Don't leave him.
Don't let me get hanging. We're good.
I'd get you, but I'd have to smack Joe. Here, there you go.
But honestly, thank you, and Evan Floyd, folks. It's great to see Evan here, and the work that Scouts' House has done over the last couple of years specifically has been really amazing.
It really has. That watching that section just kind of blow up is it's great, and it's great for people like me and Matt. The last home game, for instance, I was completely incapable of really moving around too much.
Right.
So I went over to Scouts' house and we stood there and watched the game. It was great.
So it's a great experience over there. Like I said, the whole idea is to have, Matt, it's to have whatever type of experience you're looking for available. It doesn't all have to be one thing or all the other.
Exactly. It can be lots of things.
It can be lots of things.
All the things.
Everything to everyone.
Now we're gonna have to hook up my phone here, actually, because as we're talking about soccer, one of the greatest rivalries, did I just say one of the greatest rivalries?
I believe you did.
I apologize. I'm selling it short. Probably the greatest rivalry in the history of American sports is going to be taking place again this Saturday up in Indianapolis.
Are you referring to the Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest?
Yes. Would you please tell everybody, Matthew, what does LIPAFC mean to you?
It means very simply the pinnacle in sporting competition. It is the longest running derby in the history not only of soccer but sports.
And Derrick, what about you? What does it mean to you? What does this rivalry mean to you?
Okay, well, first I have to mention something. I could never tell you what that acronym means. I know what it means, but I can't memorize it. Okay, So every time I see the acronym, the only thing that I can think of is EPICAC. And so I don't pronounce it like you guys pronounce it or say it. I just say EPICAC. It's the EPICAC rivalry. And every time I look online, I'm like, oh, there it is again. EPICAC.
It's easy, man. It's the Louisville and Indianapolis proximity. That means they're close together.
Mhm.
Association football is the game we're playing, and it's a contest.
Yes. And
I mean, I don't like numbers either.
yeah.
So
There are no numbers in that.
Now, if you know anything about this wonderful rivalry, which spans time. I mean, it's beyond time.
It transcends.
It transcends everything. You know that our greatest hero in this deal is a guy by the name of Bugsy O'Malley. Now, Bugsy played in this rivalry for about, I don't know, 50 years or so. And we're going to try and get Bugsy on the phone. Hey, Bugsy, are you there?
Hello?
Bugsy, are you there?
Hello, I think I'm here. Hello, who am I speaking to? Thank you very much. Hello?
Bugsy, this is Joe
Oh.
Vala. Bugsy, I know that I'm interrupting you.
Right here.
Hey, Bugsy, put the phone closer to your ear, pal.
Bugsy, can you hear us,
All
buddy?
right, well, is this Joe?
This is Joe, Bugsy, the guy that
Oh, yes, it's so nice to hear from you, Jimmy.
It's not Jim, it's Joe, pal. What are you doing?
That's what I said. Oh, how's it going, boy? It's not nice to hear from. It's not nice to hear from anybody, to be honest.
Well, but this is why it's such an honor to have you on the show, Bugsy, because you have been we haven't heard from you in Louisville in over 40 years. And go ahead, can you tell us a little bit go ahead.
Well, you know, it's true, Jack. Firstly,
It's
at
Joe.
my age, I said that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
People don't realize this, but you know, Louisville used to have a reputation. It had a thriving whiskey business years ago. If you don't know that,
Yeah, we
people
do.
don't realize it. And could you imagine a young Scottish soldier,
Mm-hmm.
fresh from the laugh-a-minute fireworks that was the Ardennes Bloody Forest?
Yes, that people
Have you
don't know
been
this.
to the
You
Have
would
you been to the Electric Light Parade at Disney World, there, Joseph?
Well,
Well,
folks don't know this, that you not only are you the youngest guy ever to play in this rivalry, but you literally came through Kearney, New Jersey in 1918 after the big war.
That's what they tell me.
So you're saying that you don't really remember that?
The man's 119
No.
years old, Joe. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, I know, but there I was. It's like this, Joe.
Okay.
There I was, a sporty-faced young cadet with stars in his eyes
Mm-hmm.
and a football at his feet. And I could only dream of plying my trade in a land of opportunity and cheap booze.
Okay.
Well, that's what they tell me.
That sounds like Kearney.
Anyway, but what they don't tell you is Louisville gets well near 100 degrees.
It does.
It's awful hot.
Yes, it does.
And back in those days, we had woolen uniforms. That's all we had. I think they were hand knitted by Lewis and Clark's auntie. Anyway, I'll tell you, Jordan, I had a rash that required the attention of a squadron of lotion-spewing Orientals. Can I say Orientals?
Yes, you can, Bugsy.
Offensive,
Well,
but we'll
Bugsy,
see.
you know what it is? Maybe it's a little offensive, but that's okay because I wanted to ask about something specifically.
No.
You
No,
had
don't get too specific, Jim.
okay, and it's Joe, by the way. But
Yes.
okay, but you from 1931 to roughly 1948, you had a groin pull. So how does a player have a groin pull for 17 years?
Well, I'll tell you, all ties into what I was saying to you. With their uniforms, this was before the days of ointments and unguents and salves and balms and liniments, as you call it. Not good, Jeffrey, not good. I kept a wire coat hanging in the dugout for scratching my mushy peas at halftime. After 70 years of football and all that nightlife, you'd have a pulled groin and all.
Mm-hmm. But you muscled through. I mean, America doesn't really know your story that you scored for wearing the purple of Louisville. You scored 487 goals in your 52-year career, but you only managed 5 assists. So now, can you tell the fans why did you have a problem with passing the ball?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's as simple as this, Jemima. One man does not a team make.
That's true.
And I can remember the first Louisville team back in those days. There was Winky McDougall.
Mm-hmm.
We called him the Wilson Street H-bomb. He once scored 5 own goals. He scored 5 own goals in the first half of a 5-5 draw. Yes.
That was tough.
Then, Louisville spared no expense at all. They brought in the majestic Cheech brothers from the steppes of Eurasia.
I remember Marat and Adam. Yes, I do.
They were the first Siamese twins to play for Louisville. They were a great goalkeeper.
It's amazing. I remember, and I do remember somebody trying to make "We're attached together" the slogan of the team, but it didn't really fly very well.
Never in those days. Nobody had bumpers, so you had a sticker, but nowhere to put it. Sadly, they died in a freak knitting accident. I heard.
And then 1970 was your final game. Would you get one of your assists, and we win that game 3-1. Tell us what it was like playing your very last match against Indianapolis in the greatest rivalry in the history of sports.
It wasn't easy, Joe. If I remember correctly that day, there was 3 tornadoes. 3 tornadoes outside in the parking lot.
It was a tough one.
So they were going to call the game off. But we thought, no, we've made at least $45 a day in takings at the stand, and we really needed the money. So on we went to glory. The other team actually never showed up that day, Joe. It was just me, so it wasn't so hard scoring a goal. It was easy.
Well, Indianapolis, because you struck the fear of God into the players that you played against and for all those decades that you were here. And we do have to ask a question, though. Okay, I know this may be a little uncomfortable for you, but we have to ask this. 1970 ends. You spend a couple of years on the circuit taking pictures, doing all those things that celebrities do, and then you go into hiding. And now it took us 40 years to find you in Dublin, Ireland, of all places, and we hear that you're a sex therapist. Can you tell us a little bit about all of this? What transpired the last 40 years, and how does a 100 and some odd year old guy become a sex therapist?
Jermaine, after 70 years as a footballer and all the nightlife, what else was I qualified to be but a sex therapist? For God's sake, use your head, boy. Don't feel like 103. After 80, nothing works anyway.
That's true.
And that's a good thing about being a sex therapist. You get to hear what everybody else is up to.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I think I'm needing to go, Joe.
Yeah, Bugsy, it's been a real honor. We're definitely going to have you back on when we play in Indianapolis.
No, I really think I need to go. I think I'm going. Oh, never mind.
Oh, okay. I understand. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, Louisville. Good night.
Good night to you. Bugsy, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bugsy O'Malley, the greatest player in the history of the Louisville Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest.
When can we get him on the drums, Joe?
I'll tell you what, he sounds like quite the guy. After all these years, he's still hanging in there, Matt.
Wow.
What do you think?
Wow.
Sometimes all you can say is, well,
that's that I just got to, albeit briefly, speak to one of the true heroes.
That is a legendary moment. Louisville, you just experienced a legendary moment. I think I just experienced a legendary moment.
That was greatness right there. I'll go get you a towel in just a minute.
My gosh. Well, you know what? We have to move on, sadly. Thank you, Bugsy. We will have you back on. Ladies and gentlemen, here with us today is one of our awesome capos, Katie Harper.
She hasn't left yet.
She hasn't left yet. She's been kind enough to hang out. We really appreciate that, by the way. So why don't you come on up here? Katie is and her dear husband, John, are two of our leaders in the capo deal as extended members of our Groove Machine thing. And we wanted to have her on because we want to hear about Katie and what got her involved and what she's all about. Katie, thank you so much for being on.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for sitting close to the mic. But anyway, first of all, honestly, sincerely, it's really great that you're up there. We really appreciate you doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. It's so much fun. it's a completely different experience being, on that side of things, and
Right.
You don't get to see as much of the game, of course,
Right.
because you have your back to it the whole time. But just the energy of the crowd, you just feed off of it, and you can tell something's about to happen. You're like, oh, come on,
Right.
and then get ready to pop the smoke because something's coming. And and I've been talking, if I'm up there with, say, Matt Dalton or something, we're just like feeding off the crowd. And gosh, and the past couple games, I don't know if you've all noticed it, but the crowd has just been incredible. It's been so into it, and it's kind of like we feed off of each other.
Sure.
The capos get it going, and then the crowd gets going, and that just gives us more energy and more excitement. So
Cool. So now I want to ask, actually, I don't know much about you before you started doing this. So I'd love to hear about. Did you grow up here? How did you all start coming to games, so on and so forth?
I kind of actually have a similar story to Evan.
Okay.
My dad was in the Navy, so we moved around a lot. And when I was in 7th grade, I was a swimmer. That was my sport.
Okay.
And the day before swim team sign-up started, it was rollerblading, fell, broke my arm. You can't get in the pool with a cast on your arm. So my best friend plays soccer, and she was like, oh, you should come play soccer. And I was like, what's soccer? I knew of it, but I didn't really know. And I started playing and fell in love. And ever since then, it's been my entire life. Well, high school.
Sure.
Everything was.
Did you play in high school?
I did play in high school.
Okay, which school?
I went to Lone Oak High School in Paducah, Kentucky.
Okay.
Shout out. Yeah.
Okay.
Go Purple Flash. Well, they're not.
So now,
Purple Flash.
Yeah. And so it works out because I still have all my old stuff, and it's the same colors as Louisville City.
Nice.
so I'm not going to ask. I learned not to ask when they graduated high school, so on and so forth. But I will ask. Okay. But I will ask: how popular was soccer in Paducah when you played?
It was popular,
Right.
and both men's and women's soccer.
Right.
So it was, we had the same crowds that came to watch the men's game. The women, our games were first, and then the men played after us. But we still had the same amount of crowd there. So, but it was popular, and that was the height. I'll just say I graduated in 2000. So of course the 1999 Women's World Cup,
Right.
and
Great team.
representing.
Absolutely great team.
But so that was the height of that. So it just made it, that more popular and everything. So it was popular then, and it's just continued to grow.
Now you being from Paducah, I know that there's another gentleman that lives in Paducah. How popular is he down there? I believe his name is Ricochet.
Oh, yes, King Ricochet.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the man. I mean, I've met him personally once, but John worked with him,
Right,
in the CPW. I'll give them a shout out too. But I know the city's so proud of him. A U.S. title now. So,
Yeah, U.S. champ.
So
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool to have someone from Paducah, making it.
Paducah, I know when I graduated in '98, and I know a lot of the high schools that we played, like when we went to regions and stuff like that. We didn't like playing teams from Paducah because they had a different style. It was Louisville, Lexington, Paducah, and then a couple of outliers.
Right.
But nobody liked playing teams from Paducah. Nobody liked playing teams up north near Covington either.
Right.
But Paducah was one of the ones where I was like, yeah, I don't want to play the teams from Paducah either.
And they're so far from everybody else.
Yeah.
It takes forever to get there. But yeah, they've consolidated now into one high school. So
That's why they're so good now.
Yeah. So now they have McCracken County High School. But back then it was really challenging because all the teams were equally good. So it made it interesting for the region.
And you said something that I think a lot of people don't really get, and that's where I grew up. Soccer had been around for decades. It's been around for a long time, and maybe not so much as popular in other parts of the country, but at the high school level and at the youth level, it's been popular for a pretty long time.
Right.
I mean, so I'm assuming, like you said, so in the 90s, 20 some odd years ago, you're playing youth soccer. A lot of teams. I mean, how many teams did you play? How big was the squad?
Well, I played in high school. We had there's like 5 teams, I believe, in Paducah itself,
right.
And then Paducah is kind of the big city in the middle of kind of nowhere, so we would travel a lot. But We would play like Crittenden County, Lyon County, Murray, Callaway County, those areas. So I can't remember how many teams were in our region, but I'd say probably a good 10 to 12 at least.
Okay.
And but we played the same teams a lot.
All right.
But and then I played club soccer too on off season from high school soccer. So we would travel everywhere. We would go down Memphis, up to St. Louis, Chicago, everywhere. So
I miss those days.
yeah, it was fun. I feel sorry for my parents now when they're like,
Right.
But back then I was like, let's go. And my mom was like, all right, we got another tournament this week.
And that's another conversation in the future, is the whole club thing and the pay for play nonsense that goes on in this country. It's just crazy. But anyway, so you're going through college. Did you play in college? Or?
I didn't. I actually had a couple of scholarships to play soccer in college, but I broke my ankle really bad my senior year in high school, and I played the entire season on a broken ankle.
Awesome.
But
You sound like Kurt Angle right now.
They're going to tell you.
But by that point, it was, the injuries had piled up enough where I couldn't commit to playing, collegiate soccer at that level. So I played intramurals and stuff, but I never actually played for a team.
Okay, and eventually you end up here in Louisville.
Yeah, so I went to University of Louisville.
Okay.
Actually, the women's national team is what brought me to Louisville.
Ah.
In general, they played at Papa John's Stadium.
I remember that.
In I guess 99. It would have been 99. And my soccer team went to the game, and it was the first time I'd ever been to Louisville, because I didn't grow up in Paducah. I didn't grow up in Kentucky, so I'd never really been up here. And I just fell in love with the city immediately. And I was like, I wanted to go to LSU because I lived in New Orleans. All my friends were going to LSU. So I was like, I want to go to LSU. And then we went to Louisville to that game, and I fell in love with the city. And I was like, no, I want to go to U of L. And so that's what brought me to Louisville. And here we are.
So I guess
roundabout way.
I got to ask, you're out in Louisville. What were you doing employment-wise? I wasn't sure.
Right now I'm a paralegal.
Okay.
John and I moved up here. We both worked for Toys R Us, and that's how we met in Paducah.
Okay, so you met John out there. And okay.
Yeah. After I graduated from college, a long story I won't get into, but I moved back home for a little bit because I was going to go into the Navy and medical issues. But so I started working at Toys R Us. I met John there at the Paducah Toys R Us, and
John looks like the kind of guy that enjoys toys.
Yeah.
He does. I don't mean that. I mean, he looks the kind of guy that can actually have fun in a place like that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He has a great personality for it. So, but we moved. Then John got transferred up to the store that was at St. Matthews, and I moved up. We had just started, or we had been dating for a while, and then I moved up with him here, and we got married, and so we've been here ever since.
Okay.
Kind of.
I guess your first Louisville soccer game was, like Louisville City.
Louisville City. So John was never a soccer fan. Wasn't. So it took some convincing when I found out that Louisville City was coming. And, a friend of mine would talk about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. But it took a little while to convince John, like, oh, we should go. And so probably 3 or 4 games in, was the first match that we got. We actually sat on the sideline, the first base line, and saw the Coopers and the Luigi and everybody, and we're like, no, that's where we need to be. And basically, the rest is history. We were at every game as much as we could from then on.
And the day comes where you're like, I'm sitting here cheering. I don't want to sit here and cheer anymore. I want to be up there leading. So what's the story that leads you up there?
Basically that, John had become a capo, and
very capable one, by the way. He does a great job.
Yes, he does. And it was just over this past off season, we had Melissa. Of course, nobody can replace Melissa. She's the
Melissa
best. Yes. But I was like, maybe it'd be fun to have a female,
absolutely,
voice in there. Not saying that I'm the best, but I always am sitting there in the crowd cheering and singing and going crazy. I was like, well, I'll give this a shot. So I remember talking to Alex and Glenn over the off season, and I was like, I was thinking about maybe doing some capoing this season. And they're like, well, you can't say that, and then
not
then
do it.
go back on it. So you've already said it. So
That's true. So you're hired.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're doing this, and I haven't regretted it at all. It's been a blast.
How cool was it? And I don't know if you really got into the moment, but the first time you got up there with John on the stand, how cool was that for you?
It was really cool. It was really cool. That was actually we just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary,
Wow, awesome.
and that it was the game either right before or right after that. We decided that would be the game that we went up there.
That's cool.
And because at home we always have the Louisville City song stuck in our head and
Right.
everything. So to be able to like voice that out to everybody else, it was pretty neat. And
It was cool for me, like, because we're like mere feet from you all, so it was
right.
like it was cool seeing you all both
That
up
was,
there.
it was very cool to see, and I mean that sincerely. When you were the first time I saw you up there, I was like, Katie's up there.
Mhm.
I was like, this is. I love seeing that, and
Yeah.
I love seeing people step up. We had Wyatt here last week, and it was the same thing. I mean, I don't know how introverted or extroverted you are, in a general sense, but regardless of how extroverted a person is, the second they get up there, it's a whole.
It really is, and that's the thing is like people wouldn't know us in Louisville City, but I think it's because I know everybody and I'm comfortable with you guys, and I've known you all for a long time. But I'm actually very shy, and I don't
Yeah, me too.
talk to people a lot, and but
Hey, there's no laughing. I'm sorry.
but in general, no, it's just something like I'm so passionate and I'm so excited to be there. I'm so excited to be cheering on the team, and I love this team and our fans so much that that just kind of goes away, and there you are just like screaming, and you realize you won't be able to speak for a couple days, but it's all worth it. It's so much fun.
Sunday morning. What's Sunday morning like after a game? Tell people that are not capos what it's like Sunday morning.
You're sore. It's so much more physically demanding. That was the thing that surprised me the most, because we stand up on the stand, like we're not standing on the shaky wood, so your legs are shaking like crazy. And I remember the first time after my first game, I couldn't walk the next day because my legs were so sore. And then of course you can't talk, so John and I are trying to like signal to each other like, what do you want for breakfast? Some ibuprofen and some water, please. But
Awesome.
but yeah, it's much more physically demanding than
That's the thing that people, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure they do. I'm sure that the vast majority of people truly appreciate what the capos do. But it's not just standing there and cheering, because physically it's engaging. I mean, you are engaged physically as well. Certainly playing the drums, there's a physical aspect to this too. And it's not 95 degrees yet. Have you done that yet?
no.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know.
It's a challenge.
I was actually thinking
I'm
about
sure
that
you'll
on
be
the way
fine.
here.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah, it's I mean, even after games, just this past game, we walked out to the parking lot after the game, and Brad was standing there. He's like, "Do you want a beer?" And I was like, "No, I just want some water."
Let's get to the point. Anytime we mention Brad Estes, we have to do a toast, I think. I'm sorry, do you have anything? If you'd like something, we can get you something.
I have another bourbon over here if you'd like one.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think we could talk her into a bourbon.
It is. I can't.
I think it's, you know what? This is turning into a thing where we mentioned Brad Estes. I think we should toast. So here's to Brad Estes, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Salute, Brett. There you go.
Brad
There
Estes.
you go.
All right.
Thank you, Brad.
There we go. Okay. Anyway, so I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Bourbon.
Smooth.
It tastes great, guys.
Okay, so you were saying we were talking about the first time you got up there. It's hot now. Going forward as one of our leaders now, what would you like to see happen as far as cheers? Do you want to see more? Do you want to see? What's your vision? Just go ahead. Just go.
I'm really excited to see how everything works out in the new stadium. And like you all had touched on earlier about, I'd like the whole stadium to get involved. You know, the people on well, I guess it won't be the first baseline anymore in the new stadium, but
We can make it the first baseline.
One of the coolest things I think that I saw, it actually watered me up, is when we played the 2017 USL Cup, when they had all those white towels and everybody in the whole stadium at the same time was doing the towels.
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent of like a lot of Major League Baseball games and stuff when they had the rally
the
towels and
playoffs,
stuff.
yeah.
It was so cool to see that. And
I have a really cool video because I was up on the second deck getting ready to deploy the tifo.
Mhm.
So I took a video of the whole stadium.
so cool.
And everybody just whipping those towels around.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It was really cool.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I think in the newer when we start talking about the new stadium, we mention it all the time. The acoustics
Mhm.
are going to
Oh,
be
man.
so much different in that place, especially driving by it again today. They got the roof,
Mhm.
they put the press box in too.
Yeah.
And it just the more they fill it in, the smaller the place looks, and it's not small. I mean, it's far from
Yeah.
small. It's just I can't imagine how insane it's going to be in that building.
Well, we
Yeah,
keep
I
saying
agree.
like we're literally going to be on top of the players. Like
it
it's
will be. I think it'll be much louder, and I think that will, drive the fans in the other parts of the stadium to want to sing along because they'll be able to hear.
Right.
I mean, you can hear from the other side, but you may not be able to tell, what we're singing or whatever. But I'm really excited
Yeah, me
about
too.
being on this soccer field, and
it's gonna be a really good moment for a lot of us. I think.
It's going to be huge. Now you're also a fan of the national teams.
oh yeah,
Okay.
Women's World Cup.
Right. So, okay, I guess we'll start with the women. You happy right now? You worried? Are you okay? You think it's great?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Kind of right.
I actually took a half day tomorrow so that
So
we can
watch
go
the game.
watch the game.
Okay.
The game was on our birthday last week,
Right,
so
right.
of course I was going to take off.
My birthday sister, by the way, we both had a birthday the same day.
6/20.
Cool.
Yeah, I think, gosh, it's going to be an incredible game tomorrow.
I think that Spain exposed where we're at from a just non-athletic standpoint. I think if you've got a team that's technically proficient like Spain was, a team that's come out of nowhere in the last 8
Right.
years, and a team that also is an example of when you have a nation's federation behind you, and you've got La Liga behind you. This is what happens. This is how they get better. They exposed us a little bit. I still think we're going to win.
Yeah.
I still think we're going to win. I think we're going to win tomorrow. And I'm a big fan of them. I appreciate everything that they do above and beyond. But let me ask you this. I say this. They've caught up.
Mhm.
The rest of the world is caught up.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Are you concerned? I'm concerned because I don't see our federation making any changes. Are you?
Yeah, a little bit. Especially in the quarterfinals that we're in now. All the European teams that are in there. Europe has finally put interest into women's soccer, and
It's grown tremendously in the last 8 years.
yes, and we have we get past France, we have England waiting for us. They gave us a tough challenge in the She Believes Cup. So it's not the same as it has been in the past where US is this dominant force, and then these other teams might get lucky every once in a while, and
Right.
so which I think is good for the game in general. Of course, I want the US to win because
course.
always,
Me too.
but
We have not won a game against France in the last 3 games.
right.
It's been
Mhm.
Yep.
So it'll be an interesting challenge in Paris.
and now I'm forgetting her name. The right back or the right forward. I know they play what's her name? Golly, man, she's a machine. And I think our weakness is if we have a weakness, and Spain exposed it defensively on the outside, we could be had there. And their strength is what they do on the wing. And it's just I'm concerned. And the thing that really scares me, if they score first, we haven't been down yet.
Right.
If they score first, how do we respond? I mean, that's my biggest concern about that.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, that back line, especially on the side where Crystal Dunn is.
Right.
I mean, she's an incredible player.
she's a great player.
But she's
she's
very
a great.
good.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but her athleticism and her technical skills are both great. But her athleticism, to me, is above, is a little
Right.
more.
No,
And I think that technically, we speak about most of the ladies players. That's the truth.
Mhm.
That there's some great technical players. I'm afraid even to say this, but their athleticism has carried them so far. And we saw a team like Spain whose athleticism didn't even come close to what we could do, and they still stayed in the game.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I agree. The Crystal Dunn's power is coming forward a lot, and so when it'll be interesting to see when she's like not really stuck as a defensive player to see how she reacts with a very strong French front line.
Front
So.
line kind of league. But NWSL as well. Last thing I want to ask you is, I don't know if I try to. I don't really keep up with what's going on the field. I really try to keep up with what's going on off the field because I'm trying to think of, as a supporter that lives nowhere near any team. One, hopefully we get a team in Louisville,
Right.
and then two, what's going on from there structurally? That we could see a league that grows beyond 9 teams.
Right.
I don't know if you follow or what you think about it or any thoughts that you have about NWSL.
I follow it some. I just this season have really started to get more into it. I think it has great potential.
Okay.
It's just just the same problem that soccer in America in general has, just getting people to accept it and realize that hey, they're putting out a great product.
Yes,
we
they
should go see it. And I would love a NWSL team here in Louisville. I think that would be great.
That's what I was talking about. And then last week, I'm sorry, not Wyatt. Who do we have on last week? Oh my gosh, I'm getting old.
Tim,
thank you. Tim Malloy talking about NWSL, but also I asked him about having the League 2 team here. And the lower divisions like Team 2 and teams, that's what from the men's perspective, we really need to support that just as hard. And when a women's team comes there, I guess it's Division 1. I don't think there is. I don't even know if there's
I think
tiers.
it's just
It's just this is where the growth of the game is going to come from. Not so much, 3 more MLS franchises are going to do whatever. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not trying to, because I'm not a fan of MLS, but I'm not going to dog them. I mean, there's good things that they're going to do. I guess my last question to you is, what would you like to see from a lower division perspective here in this area?
Just to help grow the game all around, and bring players that are familiar. If we have a lower division that comes up to our championship league, and just familiarity with the area, with the system, and I think us being lone wolves,
Sure.
not attached to any kind of MLS or anything, we're just kind of doing our own thing, which is great, and we've been very successful with it. But to have homegrown talent and that kind of thing, I think that would even just help as much as anything.
I mean, me personally, we need U23s here. I've loved the youth movement. I mean, you've got there's a ton of kids in this city that would love the opportunity to get up to U23s. There's so many competitive and travel clubs in this city,
Yeah.
and even we've got a lot compared to other major cities.
Right.
Just based on there's just a lot of kids.
Right.
I mean, every time you go out, you've got your Kentucky Fire Juniors, your United 96. You got everything,
Right.
everything here.
Yeah.
And they would salivate at the opportunity to have anything in the form of a professional U23 team, and you hear it everywhere you go.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody you talk to, the different facilities here, Mockingbird, King Louis, all that stuff. Those kids, they want those opportunities,
Right.
and we have to have something like that here. I mean,
Yes.
it's
And the thing that gets me nuts, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be negative, but the Red Bulls, they put out a tweet. The women's team put out a tweet that they had won, and which is great. And then the Red Bulls put out a tweet with like 3 or 4 claps underneath it. And I'm like, what are you clapping for? Because where's your women's team? Where's the MLS women's division? I'm dead serious when I say that. I mean, if they would do what England does and what La Liga's doing and Portugal's doing and Denmark's doing and the Netherlands, all these nations, their federation
Right.
is getting behind this, and as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Finally they've stepped up, and we're doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of the federation doing anything to help us out. I mean, and I'm not talking about beyond the pay. The pay thing is fine. I think they should get paid more. And there's a lot of reasons. People talk about the market value. I get it, but at the same time, there's merit in what they do for the
Right.
esteem of women in this country playing.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
a big thing. It's a
Yes.
huge thing. But it's above and beyond that. It's if the federation doesn't do something soon, we're just gonna get blown by. And that's, I mean, I would like to see if MLS would just have a women's division, it's over. We're good. Everything's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know.
Yeah, it just they need to somehow kind of morph the NWSL into an MLS.
And it can still be NWSL if they're really into their Amanda Duffy, who's I'm sure she's a president.
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm not saying the league should go away, but there's got to be a way to do this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, Katie, it has really been a pleasure.
Wow, I've had a
Thank
blast.
you so much. I hope you
guys.
enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll have you on again. Maybe we'll get you on with that other guy. What's his name? John?
I think so.
Yeah, I think his name's John.
Speaking of John,
Uh-huh.
John wrote in and said that the milk in the fridge is expired, and he would like for you to pick some up on the way home.
That doesn't surprise me.
Oh boy. Okay.
But,
What an-
all right.
Kate,
I'll
geez,
get there. I'll stop by.
Katie, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Ladies and
Thanks,
gentlemen,
Yep.
Katie Harper, thank
Bye.
you so much for being on. And I just love hearing stories like that about people who, I haven't gotten to know over the last few years. Not just, getting to know here through Louisville, then stepping up and being a leader, Derrick. What do you
Right.
think?
About stepping up and being a leader?
Yes,
I like that concept.
I like that concept a lot. Speaking of leaders, hey, Matt.
Hi.
Matt is not just a leader. He's a force.
I'm not a leader.
Yes, you are. You're a force to be reckoned with. And when it comes to wrestling, you are also
Okay. Here we go.
you're also a great wrestling mind, as you both are. So we had to say bye-bye, Katie. Thank you so much.
See you, Katie.
So last week we had a segment where we brought up three wrestlers and we are three players, and we asked you to match them up with wrestlers. And I thought it went very well. And we decided that Magnus Rasmussen, being represented by was Hart,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He would win the triple. But we're going to remember that. We're going to keep that on the side because we're going to pick three more.
No.
Eventually, if we get enough, maybe we'll have like a battle royal or something.
Mhm.
Who knows? I mean, who knows where this is going to go? But this segment, what we like to do is we like to pick three people from Louisville City history, and we like to match them up to wrestlers because these guys are outstanding. They're not just outstanding men and wonderful people. They have a lot of their wrestling acumen is pretty good. I think that's the first time I used acumen in the sentence.
I heard you say Louisville City history. So does that mean that we're gonna go like?
But that's because I don't want you guys to prepare and think I'm just going to pick players.
Oh man.
No,
Okay.
right.
We're in trouble.
So here we go.
He's gonna pop.
Starting out with a fairly obvious one that we haven't picked yet, Niall McCabe.
We can't do. I'm gonna set rules on this one. I mean, you cannot pick Sheamus.
I actually was going to go with a different Irish wrestler, not because he's Irish, but
Are you
Niall
gonna take
McCabe-
Are you gonna take
I
Finlay?
am because
Finlay.
not Finlay. No, because Niall, of course, his charity of choice is playing for Pride,
Okay.
and he's not the biggest guy out there, but he's always entertaining to watch, and he always uses what he has to, I think, to the best. And of course, on the other side of things in the wrestling world, Balor Club is for everyone.
Oh wow,
So I'm gonna say Finn Balor.
that's a good pick.
Thank you.
That's a good. I would take Finn Balor for that.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So Finn Balor?
Finn Balor.
Balor, that's yours.
Also known as Fergal Devitt, also known as
Prince Devitt. Yeah.
Okay. So
The Demon. There's
The
somebody.
Demon.
Yeah.
So he has multiple personalities like Niall when he's playing.
That's the perfect nickname. We could start calling
Because Niall every now and then gets a little Meshuggah.
Niall the Demon.
Yeah.
McCabe.
He's got a little bit of a temper. What was going?
Sometimes he needs to make a point. He needs to assert.
And he does, and we adore this. Like I said, I've said this 1,000 times. When we have, when they start doing a wall of fame around that stadium, he's the first player that's got to be on.
Oh,
Absolutely.
No question.
But something happened in the game, and I'm going to keep this, where he faked the flop or something.
That was
Does
so
anybody
funny.
know anything about this? I didn't see it.
know.
I don't know what happened.
One of the guys on the other team flopped,
Right.
and Niall gave his best. It was like he needs an Academy Award because he did it and did not get in trouble for it. I think
Okay.
the refs seen him do it, but he dove on the ground and mocked the guy that dove, and
Okay.
no one is able to find it. It's like it's a myth at this point because
Yeah.
nobody can find the clip.
Okay. So, all right. So now, who do we write that name down? Because I'm not even sure who that is. I'm sorry, pal.
Okay, we'll get you a video of this.
Yeah,
Before you
that's
leave.
what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking, because I don't know. You guys are the smart guys. I know. If anybody asks me a player, I'm going to say Hulk Hogan. You know?
That's one of the best entrances too.
It really does.
Okay, so we have a player for Niall. Now, going back into the history, going back into the vaults, okay, we had a guy who was who set a record, Matt Fondy. Okay, Matt Fondy was here and set a record for scoring So what wrestler would you pick for Matt Fondy?
Oh, that's difficult.
Who was
I think we should set a rule too. We can't, once you associate a wrestler with a player, you can't use that wrestler again. You know what I'm saying? That's fair, isn't it? You think?
I think so. This is why I kind of want to know these in advance so I can go back and see what.
No, but the whole
what
idea is to
defines
stump
Fondy's
you.
I don't remember what his play style looked like. I don't remember much about him.
He scored a lot of goals. He's from
Yeah, I know.
California.
had long hair
Had long hair from California.
that he would tie up really good.
Right.
Okay.
He was kind of quiet, but he was, he had a great season. He stood out.
Do you remember when Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder were both had long hair and they were in the tag team together? Like in the very
Major
beginning.
Brothers?
Yeah. So
Oh.
I would take Fondy, but only if it was like I'm sorry, I would take Zack Ryder, but only if it's like early to mid 2000s Zack
What,
Ryder.
not the broski.
Right. Like non-broski. Man, I don't know who else you could compare Fondy to though.
A young Barry Windham.
Yeah, if you want to go real old, yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
This is why it's so cool. Because I remember Barry Windham was a badass.
Right?
He
was
yeah,
awesome.
He really was.
And when he was younger,
And he's a kind of quiet guy that
Quiet?
did excellent. I mean,
and he just mowed people over, right? He
Yeah.
wasn't, he did the Ford thing, but it was, I like that one. Personally, as an old guy, I like that one. So Barry Windham.
I'll take it.
I like that. That's a very good one. Good job.
I'm probably going to go old school on more in my picks than
Okay. And
I say him shortly after picking Finn Balor.
And I guess I can surprise you with my third one, but you guys kind of caught me, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm gonna say it anyway. Brad Estes. Brad Estes. Brad.
I ran out of bourbon.
That's
I'll
okay.
set it down somewhere.
That's okay.
I'll drink in a minute.
We'll drink for you again.
I keep finding glasses with bourbon in them somehow.
Okay. What wrestler would you associate with Brad Estes, team president?
So it's. I already said that it can't be Shane McMahon because it's a whole different kind of
That's not even
position. Could we give? Oh man, what was the guy that Teddy Long?
See,
Teddy Long.
What we could give Brad Estes Teddy Long because he comes. I mean, the guy comes out in a purple blazer.
He does.
And I mean, and that Teddy Long doesn't actually do this, but Teddy Long would wear blazers, not purple ones. But Teddy Long would come out and he would make the most off the wall, like ridiculous matches.
Okay.
And I don't know how could we compare Brad Estes to making like the kind of decisions that Teddy Long made.
Okay.
I don't think anyone makes the kind of decisions that Teddy Long made.
The funny thing that's going to happen here is we're going to be putting Teddy Long up against Finn Balor and Barry Windham.
I don't know that we will.
So
I don't know that we will. Because there was a wrestler, kind of a big guy, distinguished himself in sports early on. Later on, at a younger age than most, transitioned himself into business. Took care of his people, took care of the fans, took care of everybody. Generally, made for a great product. And I don't think any of you all know who I'm going to say, do you?
No.
not right now.
Ron Fuller.
Oh.
Okay.
Sounds out of nowhere. That's amazing.
Tennessee stud Ron Fuller.
Golly.
Personally,
This guy is before my time. It's just I listened to his podcast and the way he described the things he did, the kind of promotions he did, just the course he took. I don't know. This reminded me of him.
Okay.
I think
And
that,
Ron Fuller's 6'9", and Brad's a big, tall guy. So
I think that I could pull a pretty good spin on this, and we just give Brad Estes Big John Stud.
You know what? I like that.
we're gonna be getting a phone call.
I actually really like that because Big John said he just came in and unless you weren't Andre the Giant, he commanded everything around him.
Yeah, pretty
Kind
much.
of did, yeah.
So
And he also won the first ever. What was it? It was first ever Battle Royal, right?
Okay.
No,
No, first Royal Rumble was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
he won a first ever something.
The test match for the Royal Rumble. I think he did win that one.
Okay. So we have our three wrestlers. Okay. So we decided for Big John Studd. I'll tell you, we picked two good ones in it for a three-way match. So you got John Studd representing Brad Estes,
Mm-hmm.
and we picked Barry Windham to represent Matt Fondy.
This is a really
That's
good,
what I'm saying.
This
Those
is a really
two
good
alone,
triple threat.
You know, and we picked for Niall. Who did we pick again? I'm sorry.
Niall has Finn Balor.
Finn Balor. Balor.
Balor.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It's a triple threat match. Who's the winner?
This is difficult because Finn has been all over the place. He's wrestled in Japan. He's wrestled pretty much everywhere, and he has been successful everywhere he has gone. Big John Studd would just brutalize people, and so would Barry Windham. Oh man, I think that it would be a very competitive match. I think that with it being a triple threat match with two big men, Finn might get a little knocked out.
Yeah, they'll get a lot of heat on him throughout most of the match, I think. Like maybe even taking turns beating him up, trying to cover him, and one pulls the other off.
Yeah, two massive guys like that up against a high flyer is kind of they'll just cancel Finn out.
Right. Okay.
So this would technically be Barry Windham
Okay,
versus Big
Big
John
John
Studd,
Studd, which is an awesome match,
with
man.
Finn throwing in some really amazing, some moves.
Yeah.
I think in the end, I don't know who I take, but Barry Windham
I see
maybe.
I think I see it ending with John Studd with the cover on Wyndham, and Finn Balor comes off the top with the coup de grace on Studd and pins one or both of them.
That could be the ultimate swerve.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's like something Vince would.
Yeah. Well, it is, huh?
If he's painted up as the demon, that's how it ends. If it's not,
Finn Balor is undefeated as the demon.
Yeah.
Oh.
You need to know this.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Is. I think
He is.
Samoa Joe didn't Samoa Joe
No,
beat him
he is undefeated as the demon.
Okay.
Okay.
Trust me on that one. I'm the statistics wrestling guy.
All right.
So we're ready to say that Balor would beat Wyndham and Big John Studd.
Yeah.
I don't think he would beat either one of them individually, but
I see.
in
The way you're scripting that is pretty awesome.
There would be a swerve in that match
Okay.
that you would not expect.
And I only say John Studd pinning Wyndham. I don't think Wyndham could superplex Big John Studd.
Nope.
So, folks, there you go. Niall McCabe as the demon wins a triple threat match. We put him in. We move him forward. I think that's pretty good. That was really good, guys.
Yep.
I ain't kidding. I think I have to steal your phone connection again.
Oh.
Hopefully you're having a good time, folks. Once again, we want to thank Evan Floyd and Katie Harper and Bugsy O'Malley. Folks, Bugsy O'Malley, Bugsy's actually, a good friend of mine, Billy Wilson, back in Kearney, New Jersey, decided to help us out with that. And he was freaking hilarious, which is not new. I love Bill. I've known him for a very long time, but I know a lot of you are waiting for this. It has been a while since he hasn't played here, but we still love this guy to death. Sean Reynolds is currently with St. Louis, and they're in the middle of a pretty amazing run in the U.S. Open, and we're trying to call him right now. I did message him. He said he's ready for the call. So it's ringing.
Sean Reynolds.
Mr. Sean, are you there?
Oh, hang on.
Sean, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Ladies and Sean, it's Joe Vala and Matt and Derrick here with the Beats, Balls, and Bourbon podcast. Young man, it's good to hear from you.
It really is.
It's always good to talk to you guys.
So I got to ask you first. I'm going to start right off with last, which is probably a huge highlight for your team, beating Cincinnati in the U.S. Open, which we were all very happy that you did. By the way,
It makes me happy just hearing you say it. Like,
take us through the match if you wouldn't mind, and tell us what that experience was like, sir.
It was awesome to watch the boys do that. Especially just because like I've already beaten them, so it's not like that big of a deal.
Yeah, there happens to be a GIF out there with you waving. Yeah, we remember that.
yeah, why were you waving at their fans, Sean? What was up with that?
No, I mean, like if I told myself if I scored, I was gonna do something just because the amount of like abuse that Cincy fans give me,
Right.
and like the whole thing between like Koch and James and
Right.
Dan and all that, because I was like there. I was holding Dan back at one point
Yeah.
after one of those games,
Jeez Louise.
and I was like, well, I can't give them the double bird,
Right.
but I can tell them how many goals I scored. So,
Right.
but yeah, like I thought we competed well against them the entire game. I think
Right.
the first 10-15 minutes we came out a little slow,
Mhm.
but then after that, we had a good amount of chances, and they didn't create a whole lot, but kudos to Sam for, he almost made a mistake, and then 2 minutes later he scores a game-winning goal.
And he's been with them, Sean. He's been with them from the outset, he's been there for a while, has he not? Sam Fink?
So, yeah. So he was there the first 2 years,
Right.
and then he went to OKC the third year, and then he came back last year.
So that must have been a pretty special experience for the supporters, having somebody who's been there, since day one. I mean, not every game, but been there day one. We've become pretty tight with a lot of the St. Louis supporters, the Luligans, and so forth. What's your experience with them been like so far?
It's been great. It's hard. It's hard. People are like, "Oh, who's better, Luligan, like us or them?" I'm like, you guys can't make me answer that question.
Right. And there's no way to ask that.
Pretty sure we're the same people in two different cities.
Exactly.
It's honestly though, like it really is very similar in qualities, like in terms of how good people are and the things that you guys care about the most. Alcohol and and the game.
And
There's also a soccer game.
There's also a soccer game. But and it's go ahead, I'm sorry.
But for the most part, the alcohol.
And we have a couple of former players besides yourself as well, with Kadeem and Guy. Tell us about their season so far and what they're contributing.
Well, I mean, you guys saw Guy play.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. He's something.
Yeah, he has the smile of champions.
Yeah.
he does have but he claims that he doesn't know how to smile. Which is
funny. Yeah.
So, but no, like Guy's quality. I've always rated Guy very highly. He's someone that I've after the first year I was like, he has to play all the time. Like that's how I felt about Guy. It's like no matter what, I was like, no matter what, he has to play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see him. Kadeem, like it's funny, like us three, we all sit next to each other in the locker room.
Okay.
It's Kadeem and then me and then Guy, and we always talk about like good old times or like stuff that happened at Louisville, and like how fun it was, and like it was like we really had a bond and a brotherhood, and it's weird, we're a little bit older now, things have changed, right. But Kadeem, he's still the same. He creates a lot for us, and he does things to get us out of tight spots sometimes when you wouldn't expect someone to. And I think like if he scores one or two more goals and a few more assists a season, I mean, he's highly talked about in the USL.
Awesome.
Hey, Sean, it's Derrick. We had some people send us some messages and whatnot on Twitter, tweet some stuff out. There's a few questions. I'm not going to run you through a top 10 list because we feel like you can just talk all day about soccer anyway. So one person wrote in, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but this is the Loucity Kiwi. He says, since leaving us, apparently you have returned several times to watch games, which I've been their first person, so I saw it, including the 2018 USL final. And he says, do you feel a significant attachment still to the club and or city, or is it mainly down to a few friends still being on the squad?
It's all of it, all the above. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to put it into words because I don't want to give too much away about how I feel. I would just say it's a bittersweet feeling.
Right.
Like that, like when I come back, it's bittersweet, for reasons like I will one day let people know why. But and then of course, like the fans, the city itself is great. I like my time there.
Right.
It's nice because like to go home, I just drive straight down 65. So
there you go.
But then like, I still have a lot of like most of those guys on my team have become close friends of mine. Like, I talk to a lot of them weekly, some of them daily, especially last year, because there was like there was a strange feeling when I would come back, but yeah, I have a bittersweet feeling towards Louisville and Louisville City, and I have a great relationship with the guys who were on the team last year and the guys who left, especially.
Okay.
I love to hear stuff like that. It's always good. The brotherhood that you get in this sport is amazing. I still miss people from when I was in my early 20s, man. It's wild. And you play around the country, and you've got me wanting to call some of the guys that I played with that I haven't spoken to in like 10 years. So, yeah. So hey, so I've got a totally this is kind of an off the wall question I wanted to ask you, and we might learn a little bit about you as far as your soccer interests, especially internationally. So the Derby City Reds wrote in, and you can answer this however you want. They say, how frustrated are you with Man United and their lack of ambition in the transfer window this summer?
It's fuck me. Fuck me. I don't feel like it's not that it's a lack of ambition. It's more like a lack of understanding of what we need. We re-signed Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, and Ashley Young, and they're all fucking shit.
No.
And like that's my biggest thing is like why are we keeping average ass players? Like, yeah, they work hard. It's like Ashley Young works his balls off, but he's also good for a penalty every 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Jones is good for a mistake every couple games, and then Chris Smalling is like, I don't know if he's gonna pass the ball to his teammates or the other team. So like, it's not a lack of ambition. It's just a lack of understanding of what we need, which is a few center backs, better players, and someone who's gonna like actually run midfield.
I'm totally gonna follow their Twitter now. I don't follow a lot of EPL, but I'd be interested to see what they have to say about that, because that's awesome. And so I've got one more question for you. I'm not going to go down through a big long gauntlet, but so this is mainly from me and a couple of other people posed a couple of questions, and you'll be kind of surprised at who this question is directed at. So Colo, does Colo belong to any social media accounts? And does Colo have a P.O. box where people can send Colo things?
Send Colo snacks.
Colo has an Instagram.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
He has an Instagram, and he has a decent amount of followers.
Okay.
Nothing big, but like he's starting to gain more and more popularity. But
Nice.
he's usually catching in good lighting or him doing something crazy. So yeah,
Yeah, I had people asking me like, hey, can you find out if he has like someplace where we can send snacks and collars
awesome.
and all kinds of stuff. So we don't want to send you any housewarming stuff. We want to send your dog stuff.
No, trust me. I get it all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, I love your dog." Thanks.
I think it was
right.
It was Kathy Ryan was talking to me about like, can we send his dog stuff?
Yeah, I it's funny, like you asked me about how close I am with Louisville and how I feel, and I still have like families that I talk to,
Right.
Here and there, and one of the families, they actually take Colo for me when I go like say on a longer trip.
Okay.
Like if I'm gone for like a week or so, I actually drive over to Louisville and drop him off.
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Or
That's
they'll
awesome.
meet me halfway.
That's
Because
amazing.
they love Colo. The kids love Colo. Colo loves them. So like I know like he's always going to be well taken care of.
That's so cool, man.
And
USL soccer, ladies and
I hear
gentlemen.
you, man.
That's
Matt, you got anything you want to answer?
I don't like but like you say that, but it's like, you know, I don't consider myself some big superstar where I have to act any different from a normal person.
Right.
Like, yeah, I play in the USL, but let's be real, I'm not like Neymar or anybody like that.
No.
So I feel like I can have just a regular friendship with people without having to act like I'm too good for them.
it's really cool it's really cool to hear somebody say something like that, especially like you. I mean, it's important to me, and I'm sure it is to a lot of other people, that, you know, people still have those thoughts, and I don't know, man. That makes me feel good that there's still players out there that think like that, because I was around a lot of players that did not care about other people, believe me.
I think there's a lot more out there than what people would think, but then it's overshadowed by the amount of guys who don't feel that same way.
Loud personalities have a way.
Hold on.
Go ahead,
Hold
sorry.
on. What did you do?
Uh-oh.
What are you doing?
I think Colo's up to something.
Yeah. Is that the blackberry that I dropped? Colo's eating fruit from out from underneath the couch right now.
Okay.
Wow.
You're gonna have to excuse me for like 1 second.
All right, take your time.
Oh, dude.
Talking about the dog grabbing food from under the couch, like, that's a perfect segue.
Right.
But it's like, you know, like, do not put that on the carpet. Like, I swear to God, he's like a small child.
How old? How old now?
Colo is only 3.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Dude. Why'd you smush it?
I can see the dog with his head
I
sideways.
feel like one of us should be doing Colo's voice right now, actually. But Dad,
It was delicious.
He like, you know, like I've never met a dog who eats zucchini, squash, mangoes, bell peppers, like any stuff like that. Like,
So-
he just eats it.
So what you're saying is that your dog should be allowed in an Olive Garden.
the dog would love Olive Garden. Yeah, it's true.
I'm saying if I ever went vegetarian, he would have no problem.
So who steals more of your snacks, him or your teammates?
Definitely Colo,
Okay.
because of the amount of snacks that are in this house.
Yep. I remember.
And it's not even like he's like begging, you know. It's just like, look at, like, oh, this is a really big piece of steak that I should not eat. I'm just gonna cut it off.
Right.
And then I look over to my left, and just below, or just above the coffee table, but just out of the way of the TV, are 2 eyes looking back at me. It's either it's that, or I can see his head from, like, through the coffee table at the right angle, and he's giving me the side eye, like, are you gonna eat that?
Right.
So sorry,
That's
we're good
okay.
now.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm. So you used to do a segment, like a little video thing called Reynolds Rap. I don't know. Do you do that anymore ever?
We talked about doing it again, but I just like, with this year has kind of been frustrating because I've had a few injuries.
Right.
I had one earlier in the season, through preseason, and then again not long after, and then now, like, I actually am just now coming back from an injury, but people didn't know because I was getting named on the bench.
Okay.
I know that.
That's because
Let me just jump in for a second. I'm sorry, Matt. Tell us about the form of the team within USL and what you're envisioning the next 3 or 4 games.
So, like, you know, I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's like, it's great that we're doing so good in the Open Cup, but you know,
Right.
you don't keep your job by doing well in the Cup.
Understood.
I'll just say that.
Gotcha. That's
So,
thank you.
I think that's something that we need to think about, all of us.
I understand. I don't
going
know.
forward.
Yep. Matt, did you have anything
Yep.
else?
Well, just on a little less serious note, I think one of those segments we talked about had you going to, what was it, Lucky's Market to pick out various snacks.
Yeah, so I love Lucky's.
Okay.
We used to live, the player apartments were within a mile of Lucky's in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was like, you know, if I got hungry, I'd just go there and pick something, and it became dangerous
Yeah.
because you go in there and you don't expect to spend that much money, and then you spend that much money,
Mhm.
and you're like, well, actually, you know what? I really could use that, or really want this as well, because it looks so good. My biggest issue is I always go grocery shopping when I'm hungry.
Oh, no.
No,
yeah,
worst thing to do.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't, but
Mhm.
it's bad habit.
Yeah.
But well, anyway, so last year, yeah, like I went and I had my usual snacks, like stuff I would bring. Well, I actually tried some new stuff, and I've found some new snacks,
Oh, really?
and yeah, like I'm convinced that, or like some, you know, some snacks that are created, like people, like they were on drugs when they decided let's make this, and they accidentally spilt some of the drugs
Yeah.
in the process of what they created, because that's how good it tastes.
That would explain these dark
It's like-
chocolate goji berries, which you turned me onto in that segment. Yeah, as we were snacking
So,
and talking, basically I went through and got pretty much everything you listed off in that segment.
Yeah,
They're all laid out on the
They're
They're
table.
all laid out on the table right here.
So we're just kind of sampling them as we go along today.
just sampling.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, Sean, I run. You know who I run into over at Lucky's? I live right down the street from Lucky's, but you know who I still run into all the time over there?
who's that?
George.
Yeah.
Like
That
all the
doesn't
time.
surprise
Like,
me.
and I'm not supposed to say anything, but I normally catch him in there buying booze.
So you announced it on a
That's
video
good.
podcast.
That they have a good beer selection. They like, it's like and they have good beer and bourbon selection, to be honest. So I don't blame him. I'd probably buy my stuff from there as well.
Mhm.
And they always have good deals, so why not?
In his defense, it was before Hackworth showed up. So
There you go.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So yeah, went
Well,
through and
shit,
got a
that's
few.
even worse.
That's why I haven't said anything until now.
Matt's going out and grabbing a couple of snacks here that he has on the table.
So some of the stuff
I think
like Lara bars.
If you guys try Annie's bunny grams,
Oh, I've had
Bunny
those. I've had
grams.
those.
Bunny cream?
yeah,
My son loves
they're-
those.
What
yeah,
are they? What are
I
they?
love them, and I'm 29 years old.
Ah,
They're like, they're like animal crackers, except
okay.
they're like graham crackers, and you have like your cinnamon, honey,
Ah,
but they also have like chocolate, and
nice.
but the
Mhm.
best one is chocolate chip.
Okay.
And I swear to God, like I sit down and I start eating them, and then the bag is gone.
Yep.
I just killed $3.50 worth of animal crackers.
That's
in
tree
one
fitting.
sitting.
Oh, jeez.
Mhm.
Golly.
Yeah, like
Tree fitting.
yeah. I mean, they're organic. They're supposed to be good for you, and they may or may not have crack in them. But
I mean, they are organic. Like,
Yeah, organic.
yeah, but they're organic, you know. So
Yeah.
like, it's like,
Jeez.
I mean, hey, you got to take some good with some bad.
Right.
Right.
Well, of all the stuff you showed us, I pretty much understood, except for what in the world are these honey stingers? What are these things?
So I don't. If you eat that right now, you're gonna be up all night.
I'm gonna break off a little tiny piece then.
Yeah. So it's basically just like pure energy. Like
my.
it's, you know, like
I'm
honey
not
is like
touching
it's
that.
pure. Honey is, you know, it's like a natural sugar.
Right.
Mhm.
So and it's like a natural sugar, carb, whatever you want to decide
Mhm.
it is for you, basically. So So like I would eat those like an hour before the match.
Jeez.
Or like I would eat half of it before and then the other half at halftime.
Wow.
And just like for fuel.
Okay.
But like, yeah, like if you have like a long day at work or something and you're just feeling, like you could eat that and it's not going to make you full, but it's going to at least give you some energy.
Right.
What would happen if I ate that for breakfast? You think that would help me out?
Like I feel like that's one of those where it's like you could crash because you took it too early,
Okay.
So right before
Like-
you start shifting those copiers around, that'd be
Yeah,
time to
because
do it.
I've been drinking a
Yeah.
lot of coffee, and I figure, hey, if I can have something else, to
So here's like people ask me all the time, they're like, do you drink coffee? And I tell them no.
Okay.
And they say, why not? I said, because caffeine. I was the U.S. government pretty much created caffeine to stop people from doing coke.
Okay.
So it's America's drug. I don't know.
Okay.
So, all right. So I'm gonna tell you guys this story real quick.
Go on, man.
So Chris Rock did this segment. I think it was somewhere between 2001 and 2003, and I'll never forget it. It was the first HBO special that my mom and my stepdad let me watch.
Okay.
And I mean, it's Chris Rock, so like he's gonna talk some shit.
Mhm.
And he starts talking about drugs in America, and he's saying, if drugs were legal in America, it wouldn't be Starbucks, it'd be Weed Bucks.
Right.
It wouldn't be,
And I think that's what Colorado is now.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be McDonald's, it'd be McCoco's. And then the last one was, it wouldn't be Krispy Kreme, it'd be Cracky Kreme.
Man, I can't eat
I
those
think
things.
I think Krispy
I
Kreme
can't
can
eat
survive
those.
personally.
I'm not really a huge sugar guy, but I can't eat those things. I flip out. There's so much sugar in those things.
I can't process sugar that well.
Okay.
I like that's not. I've never like Starburst, Skittles, all that stuff like kids eat. I was never one of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't care for it. I would eat like a Snickers bar or maybe like a Reese's Pieces, but then I'd only eat like one of the Reese's Pieces because the other one would make me feel sick.
Jeez Louise. All right, so
It was
now,
a tough life.
well, I guess the one thing I wanted to ask that was sport related, and then I'm done, is they're sitting there talking about an MLS franchise in St. Louis. Do you get a feel from the supporters there about whether they want it, they don't want it? Is it a big deal there? I mean, you're in the community. What do you think about that?
Personally, like it's good and bad. It's received good and bad. It's good because for St. Louis City, like they're a huge sports town.
Yes, they are.
And I have family that live here. They supported the Rams. They supported the Cardinals. I mean, they just won the
Cardinals fans
MLB.
are fanatics.
Yeah,
They
they
are.
just won. They just won not too long ago. And then of course, like I was here for the Blues.
Yeah, that was massive. That's the other reason I wanted to ask.
Like it was awesome being a part of that. It was
Mhm.
awesome being out watching the games, like with the guys, like
Mhm.
cheering whenever they scored. Like it was mayhem. Like I've never been a part of anything like that because I'm not from like a big city.
Right.
So like it's great that all these people you see that whole MLS for the Lou
Right.
now,
The hashtag.
and like even the fans, they're excited about it. Now I can't tell if they're like, oh well, are we like what's gonna happen with St. Louis FC? Like,
Mhm.
is it gonna fold or this or that? Like I haven't really been paying attention to that.
Right.
I guess my biggest issue is if people in St. Louis want an MLS team so bad, why don't they come to more of our games?
Thank you. This is
And-
where right. God, I'm sorry.
Like I can understand there's a few variables. Everyone complains that the stadium's not downtown, but then my rebuttal is, well, it's not that far of a drive.
Mhm.
Oh, you drive out and then just to drive back downtown,
Right.
or you get to go back downtown. And then some people say, well, we come from West County, and then to go to the games that are already downtown.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that I can understand. I said, but Kirkwood and you know, if you're going back to St. Charles, like all those places are places like you can enjoy.
Right.
Now the other thing is you talk about. Actually, I don't want to say anymore.
Sure, try to say. No, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it's just,
No, but
you know, I was just trying to get an observation of what you hear and what you feel around, you know, in the community. So I would never do that to you. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I need to stop myself because you guys know, like I will say
I know.
the exact truth.
Right, I know that. And the thing is, to me, is, you know, being a soccer fan as old as I am, I mean, you know, turned 54 last week. We need lower division teams way more than we need 3 more MLS franchises, to me. And
I agree. I agree 100% with you. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you finish first because I want to hear what you have to say.
And it's nothing can really be built correctly without a foundation. And they built this thing through the federation a certain way. Once again, I'm not asking you to comment. You play on a team. I'm just ranting. It's just I get to a point where I see people arguing and yelling in Charlotte, in Tampa Bay, in Phoenix, in Vegas about a new MLS team. And the first thing I say to myself is, why aren't you going to what's there now? What is this infatuation with having to identify with a Division I team? I identify as a supporter in soccer with Louisville City. I could give a rat's ass what division it's in. It doesn't matter to me what division it's in. There were people that supported the Derby City Rovers, right? I mean, Matt, you were one of those guys. And was that Division 4?
I believe so. PDL, yeah.
I've never heard of those guys.
No.
Right? I do.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
And the problem is people in America are addicted, and I mean, like, I actually mean that word. They are addicted to winning cultures.
Yep.
The best of the best, and having to be a part of the big party.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good answer.
They don't understand the significance of support your local team because they've never actually
had to do that.
They've never actually had to do it. So like you look at England, you look at pretty much every country except for America.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not supporting a team because they're the best team in like their city, or their team, like the team in their city is in the Prem, or you know what I mean? Like,
right.
They support them because that is their team.
Right.
But people here, they're like, they could have, like us, for instance, we're here. It's like, oh yeah, I like St. Louis FC, but I'm a LA Galaxy fan.
Right.
It's like, you're a fan of a team that's on the other side of the country.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Well, they're in the MLS. It's like, you have to stop thinking that way. Like,
agreed.
A team is a team. Like, just because America and the U.S. Soccer and Federation is ass backwards in terms of how they do things, like, doesn't make us a different team to LA. The only thing that makes us different is $275 million.
Yep.
And the fact that LA Galaxy was back in like 1996.
Yep.
Those are the two biggest differences.
And from a performance,
imagine if USL teams, or to be in the MLS, you didn't have to buy in. Your team just had to be good.
Just had to be good enough. Mm-hmm.
Had to be good enough. So, and then and say they scrapped all these rules about, oh, you have to have soccer specific stadium, you have to have this, you have to have that. It has to be downtown. Like, our team, like the 2015-2016 Louisville team is playing in the top league.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or you've got 2 Red Bulls teams playing. I don't know how that would work, but you'd have 2 Red Bulls teams playing in the top league. But no, like, you have to pay a lot of money just to show off. Like, the MLS is basically like, it walks around. It's like, look at my dick. That's basically what they do.
That's what it does. I know, absolutely. It's a show. It's a dog and pony show, and
it's like I don't like we've now played 2 different teams, and like I always get the same kind of reaction from guys who come from MLS and they go down to USL. It's always the same reaction. Why do you guys run so much? Why do you guys work so hard? Why do you guys do this? Why do you guys do that? And in my head, I'm like, why the fuck don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting paid 70.
So-
You're getting paid how much?
Right.
You're getting paid
Six
how much?
figures.
And you don't work. You don't work
Well,
hard. Like,
that's it though. Is that there's no challenge. I mean, these guys don't have. I mean, like two observances. Number one, I think you could pass the designated players in MLS, and I think the average MLS player and the average USL player, there's not much difference quality wise. What do you think?
there's not.
Right.
Like, there's not.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's
Right.
just it's as Guy Abend would say, it's roulette.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Literally, it's roulette, because any like, I'm not just saying this, but you look at the Cincinnati team
Right.
that played us, and you
Yeah,
look at that
it's
roster,
it's a joke. Sorry, I mean I can say
And-
that because I'm not playing, but it's a
and
joke.
it's like, so like, their roster that they put out, one player, his whole paycheck was bigger than our entire salary,
Right.
like our entire team salary. Yet we work harder than all of them, which
Right.
allowed us to win the game.
Right.
And you're gonna tell me that some of the guys on my team who played in that game don't deserve a shot in the MLS?
Of course.
The team who won the USL, and like our team in 2017 and last year's team in 2018,
Right.
none of us deserved a shot in MLS. But like, it's like I said, it's roulette. It's like, it sucks. In America, you have to know somebody
Right.
to play in the top division. You can't just be good enough. You have to know somebody. I can tell you now that there's guys floating around in the NPSL right now,
Right.
who are ex-professionals who they just got tired of, the USL, like after the NASL folded.
Right.
But like, they were tired. They were just tired of like the whole idea that they had to be great in order to make it.
Mhm.
Like, and or they had to know somebody. They couldn't just be
Right.
great. And it kind of happens in the USL sometimes,
Mhm.
but it's nowhere near as much.
Right. And I guess the last thing I would touch on with the whole MLS thing is that when you have a league that's set up for parity, and it is, I mean, when you have so much control, the league office has such control of the contracts and the money exchanges, you have something that's set up for parity. The quality is not going to get much better. And on Saturday morning, I could turn on 4 different countries and I can watch the game at that level. I'm living in Louisville. If I live in Louisville or Charlotte or Tampa or Phoenix or any of these other places, compel me to watch your league. I don't get it. I mean, why would I want to watch a mediocre product in a league where they're literally working to subjugate or obliterate competition like us? I don't get it.
I mean, like, the other thing is, like, there's no team like in the MLS that you look at year after year after year, like, that team's the best team.
Right.
Like,
They need a bad
ever.
guy. They need a bad guy.
Yeah.
They
Like,
do. Like baseball has the
you-
Yankees. And you're talking about Man
Yeah.
U. Man U is a team that you want to, like, if you're watching a game, you have a team in the league, you're going to want to watch Man U if you don't like them, because you don't like them. There's nobody
Yeah.
turning on San Jose because they don't like San Jose. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just, like, for me, like, it's just difficult for me to understand, like, it. And well, actually, you know what? It is. I do understand now. Like, I used to say like I didn't understand, but
Right.
it's a business. Like,
Yeah.
MLS is a business.
Yep.
The Prem has a business side,
Yep. Thank
but
you.
the players, like, there's actual, like, games. Like,
Games. They
the
fight.
MLS is just a business. Like, those guys had a union finally got a union. They changed a lot of shit, and it made the MLS change a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that our union with the
Right.
USL, we
Right.
can do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Hope
But
so.
it's like, how is it that they never thought of some of those things? Like, why did the players have to come to them and be like, yeah, this isn't good enough?
Because of the bottom line, man. Everything is about the bottom line in that league. It's man. I'm bringing you down, and I apologize. I wasn't trying to bring. Man, I tell you what. I guess we're almost out of time because we've been on. I really appreciate you coming on, but man, tell us something that's really good going on in your life, because we miss you. We miss you terribly. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
So give us some good things,
Yeah,
man.
I
Tell us something happy. Tell us something good. Besides, you have
back
a really cool dog.
Yeah. I was gonna start with that, but no. back from injury, which is nice.
Good.
So I have 5 weeks of pent up aggression and energy, like
Good.
lash out on Tuesday, which wasn't great, but it felt good, you know. I don't know, like things are, you know, I can't really complain. Like,
Sure.
I still get to play
Right.
the game that I love. I've been fortunate enough to continue to play.
Right.
You know, a lot of guys are retiring
Mm-hmm.
at my age in the U.S. from the USL and things like that because standard of living is not great,
Sure.
which you guys obviously know from what I've told you before.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that's been like superb or, you know, or anything like that. Colo's great. He's he's my best friend, so we have a lot of conversations sometimes.
There you go.
Family's doing well.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, I like
The things that matter sound like they're fine.
yeah. I honestly though, like I said, there's not really like great news. I don't really have any like great news. Just life is good, how it is.
Good.
Like I said, I miss you guys. I'm actually there is some good news. Like I get to take my D course soon, so I'm looking forward to that. I've been spending a lot of time with the academy here, and
Awesome.
I've been learning a lot. Actually, I guess that's some good news. My academy boys, the ones that I've been working with a lot, they actually just qualified, or they just went through
saw
the
that. Did see that.
semifinals
Nice.
of the DA playoffs. So I was really happy for them. I haven't seen them since I got back, so I'm hoping to tomorrow to go out to practice. I think they're practicing tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll go out there and say hello and congratulate them. But yeah, like things are. I've got my health.
Yeah, man.
Got my dog. Got my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could use 1 or 2 more friends.
Just
But,
come visit a little more. We can hang out.
I wish I could sometimes, but just got to take what I have, take what I can give you right now.
Yeah.
All right.
And hey, we'll be coming out there pretty soon.
Right.
Yeah, September
Yeah.
September 18th or 23rd or something like that.
Right. Well, listen, we're gonna let you do your thing, but finish your thought. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say like I'll be happy to see you guys.
Right, and you are, like I said, you know, the class and the warrior attitude that you had when you were here. And I'm not saying that just to say it. It's the truth. The type of player you were is what we want to see embodied. Like when I think of a player, now I say that it's when they put up a wall of fame, you know, Niall's face has got to be the first player on it because he's been here for so long. But when I measure Louisville City players, the new ones, the first person I think of, and I'm saying it sincerely, who are they compared to Sean Reynolds? And that's who I elevate or judge against because of the type of guy you were on and off the field. And man, looking forward to hopefully having you back on again sometime in the future. And looking forward to see what's going on in your life and your career. We love you, pal.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you saying that. I just wish somebody else would have said that about me at one point in my career, in my life. But,
well, you know, you've got people saying about you now, and I'm sure, like, if you called up and said, you know, my dog needs a sitter, and that other group, we'd be out there as quick as we could.
Oh, yeah, trust me, I understand. I mean, I don't know how trustworthy I would be because, you know, he's my baby, but you know, we definitely set up some trial runs.
All right,
but no, I appreciate you guys asking me to be on here, and like always, glad we could catch up and talk.
Absolutely.
I hope all of you guys are doing well.
Absolutely.
And you know, as much, you know, I cheer for my friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I cheer. You know, I want Paco to do well.
Right.
And I want Oscar to do well. Like all the guys who I'm still friends with on that team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want all of them to do well. But at the same time, like, I don't mind if you guys draw.
Right. Absolutely.
But, you know,
no, it's totally understood.
like, like the, there's games I'm like, oh, Paco, like, good tackle. I'm like, but, next one, just let him through.
Let him through. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you real soon, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right,
Thanks,
love
Sean.
you. Take care, Sean.
Thanks, man. See you soon.
Bye. See ya.
Well, there you go.
All right.
I mean, he's just such a great dude, and
It really is.
And I mean that sincerely. I mean, like Niall, as I said, he's the face that he's got to be the first person they put up. But any player that comes in here that plays, the first guy I think of is who are they compared to Sean Reynolds because of what Sean brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Much like Slugger Field has the statue out by the gates. I've always pictured a statue of Sean Reynolds outside holding his hand up.
Yes. That's so
And,
awesome. That is true. That is true.
Oh man, it would be wonderful.
Yes.
How would you like to add anything to that phone conversation, sir?
We all got to go to St. Louis and just make a lot of noise for our team, but also just see Sean and the guys.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
A couple minutes because we've been on for about 2 hours, but 2 minutes. Women's World Cup. Big game tomorrow against a great opponent.
Against the host, against a team that they haven't beaten in 3 games,
Right.
against a team that saw them get exposed against Spain. If we come out on top, then they have thoroughly impressed me, and the sky's the limit.
Get out there and win it.
Yeah.
I know we're not a news podcast. I actually do have some news that just came in. The unsubs.com is reporting that apparently Lucky Kasana has been traded to Tampa Bay for Antoine Opino, I think is how you say his name.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
No kidding. We
Yeah.
traded somebody?
Yeah. Lucky. Which
Wow.
I'm surprised.
That is a bit of surprise.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
not
Wow.
confirmed yet, but that's what they're reporting.
Okay.
So you broke in here by Matthew Owens.
Yeah.
Well done,
That
sir.
never happens on this podcast.
Jeez Louise.
How did this podcast have the timing to break that?
There you go. So Lucky gets traded, it looks like.
Yeah. I guess.
Wow,
I don't know
that's a
anything about
surprise.
Opino,
Suddenly I want to get on my phone and look at the guy that we're trading for.
but- Yeah.
He's
He
getting
played
a lot of minutes.
he played for Reno, I think, didn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he played for Reno, and then he's been playing for Tampa Bay this season.
Interesting.
I
I wonder
know-
what's going on there. That's
I don't know. I know Lucky has some kind of history with Tampa Bay where he played for them a little while, a few years back, but
Yeah.
Huh.
that's completely out of left
That's
field.
a
Okay.
surprise. All right, well there you go.
Yeah.
So hopefully the women. I think France is going to have a lot of pressure on them tomorrow, and I think that that's going to weigh against them because that kind of pressure against that team, against the quality opponent that they're going to be playing in the United States. I think we're going to win, but at the same time, if they score first, I think we're done.
It's-
I don't see us coming back against them.
It's going to come down to sure they're very athletic, but I think this game's going to come down to how they're coached.
Yep.
So
And I have some questions about that.
apparently a lot of people do.
So then we go on to the guys who have moved on from their group in the Gold Cup. I mean, that's something. What I'm afraid of is they're playing. Their results are going to be just okay enough where they don't shake this thing up.
They're playing against Curacao.
They're playing
Curacao.
Curacao.
Thank you.
Curacao, I
They're
think.
playing against Curacao in the round of 16, I guess it is, or 8. I don't even
Which
know.
they're considered the Cinderellas of the tournament.
They are the Cinderella. Haiti, too. Haiti has moved on. It's been a bit of a – and I've been following the tournament. I've watched a bunch of games. A couple of disappointments. Costa Rica, very disappointing. Jamaica, hate to say it. I know we got a couple of guys playing there. But Jamaica, disappointing. Their efforts have just – yesterday, only drawing in a game. It's a veteran squad with a lot of talent, drawing against whoever they drew against. It might have been Curacao, actually. I don't remember who they drew against because I just didn't care in the sense of this is a team they should have beaten 10-0. So very disappointed in Jamaica. Really happy for Canada. The Canada-Mexico game was the best game I've seen, and I'm not kidding, in a long time.
Mhm.
Holy crap, the energy was amazing. Canada, MLS has helped Canada a lot.
Mhm.
And but we'll see what happens. There are enough teams that are close to the United States quality that are playing bad right now. And the U.S. is playing just well enough to win these games against Trinidad. Our big revenge. We got our big revenge against Trinidad, 6-0. Right. And a Louisville, I think we had a Sands, right? The kid that played here. He started for them.
Yep.
So I guess that's the first time we've had a Louisville City player play in a national tournament, I think. I don't know. And they're still gonna get run over by Mexico. So that's it there. I'm not trying to be rude, but just it is what it is, and we'll see what happens. And LIPAFC this weekend.
Epic hack.
Looking forward to it.
LIPAFC.
So, and that's pretty much we've been on for almost about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, but that's okay. We had a good time today. We want to thank Evan Floyd, who was really nice, brought us some great gifts. Evan, thank you so much. The Groove Machine will definitely appreciate the Cooper's Craft.
Yep.
Also, that great poster. I mean, I'll get a Frankfurt. That's got to go up.
Cool.
So that's fantastic. Really want to thank Evan for that. Yeah. Katie Harper was wonderful. Like I said, it's great to have somebody come on who her history of being a soccer player and then, now being a capo and leading was wonderful. Bugsy was friggin' hilarious. I want to thank.
Bugsy was great. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
He's not dead.
He's not dead. He's a sex therapist, so he's doing all right.
He's dead in spirit.
So the Bugsy said that was wonderful, and of course Sean Reynolds, God bless, wonderful guy, love him. And guys, this was a good show.
All right.
July 11th is our next show. We're
2
off
weeks.
next week. We have one confirmed guest. Lance McGarvey has agreed to come on. We are working on some others. Stay in touch. Whoever's traveling to Indy, we'll see you there. If not, have a great July 4th.
Yep.
An enjoyable one. Would you like to add anything to end the show, Derrick?
Well, one thing that we didn't mention about July the 11th is we will not be broadcasting from my apartment.
There you go.
We will be in a very special place that will go unnamed, but it will look very professional, and there will be people serving us drinks.
There you go.
I like this idea.
And Matt, would you like to add anything?
I just want to say, let's give this podcast a proper send-off.
Yep. Oh. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody that was a part of this and watching it. Hope you had a good time. We're looking forward to doing many, many more of these. And that's it. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Holla, 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 holla.